Hey guys, welcome back to Vinceville Custom. So today we are continuing with our part 2 in a work in progress series of taking a Sideshow Collectibles Poison Ivy premium format statue and converting it into a Jessie from Pokemon. Now I know Jessie is more animated type character, but I like taking, you know, some of these animated characters and throwing on to like a comic book realistic statue and see what they look like. Something a little bit different and fun, and we'll just see how this works out at the end. So in this video, what we're going to focus on is the engineering now. The previous video was all prep work. So if you go back and you check out that video, you can see how I chopped up all the leaves, I shaped up the body, and I took out everything and I just like rebuilt the basic figure. So in this video, I'm still going to be doing a little bit prep work, you know, some tweaking here and there of any kind of muscles or sanding and just filling in areas. But I want to focus on the engineering now. This is kind of like my process of something like with this statue where it required a lot of chopping and breaking. So in the past video, I sanded down the arms. What I did is I drilled holes in the arms for now. And then I drilled holes up in here for these arms as well. So this way, this is ready to have the arms attached and I can actually fine tune the arms. Now the other thing too is the head. Do I set it up where I just attach the head at the end after I paint everything and then just like, you know, use some Aves or Magic Sculpt glue and then just glue it in at the end? Or do I make the head removable? Or do I attach the head and then paint everything up? So I'm not really sure what to do yet. That's kind of like the whole process, but we'll figure it out as we go. Because if you're going to sculpt a jacket and you're going to sculpt a skirt, that hair coming down her back is very hard to sculpt back there. So it'll be a little bit easier to do it first and then figure out, you know, what to do with the head. Now the main thing what I want to focus on now is this leg into her hip. Now, if this was going to be a mass-produced statue and you were going to have a skirt on a female like this, you would probably have the skirt here, and then you would have these two legs cut off and they would be glued in at the end of the process, and then you paint, you know, you paint everything up. The factory glues in the legs underneath the skirt, and then you're done. This is a one of a kind, so we got to kind of like, you know, do our best where attaching everything, because just to, you know, sculpt the skirt, cut the legs, make keys, and do all this work just for one statue doesn't really make a lot of sense when I can attach this leg and just paint it all together. Now, what I really want to do though is I want to sculpt the boot separately, you know, sculpt the boots separately like this. I want to be able to sculpt the boot here and sculpt the boots here and not have to worry about trying to get underneath in here with these legs together, because it would be a nightmare. So it's a little bit easier to kind of have separated pieces. But once the boots are sculpted, then I'll attach this leg, clean this up, and then do the skirt, and I'll just have to worry about trying to paint, you know, in between them. It's just the way it's going to have to work with the custom. Of course, yeah, it would be great to have this leg separated, but to try to have that skirt and then have this leg support the whole body, I don't want to have any weak points where this could break or anything like that either. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix up some Magic Sculpt. And the idea with the Magic Sculpt is we're going to put a bunch of Magic Sculpt around here, and we're going to line up this leg correctly, and we're going to create like a basic key shape. So this way, when I do sculpt the boots on her, whatever I have to Dremel in here or whatever I have to do, I can keep things separated and it's lining up correctly every time. Because as you can see right now, it's twisting. And if I work on the item and the leg's twisted like this by accident, and then I go to attach it at the end, things won't line up. So that's kind of what I'm going to do right now. Because you can also see here with these feet, the way it is this foot is supposed to be lined up with the bottom of that foot. So if I'm not correct, and I'm sculpting like this foot is kind of up in the air, and she's like leaning forward doing it wrong. If I do it this too far like this, she's kind of leaning backwards and it's not correct. So that's what I have to do now. So I'm going to mix up some Magic Sculpt. Once the Magic Sculpt is mixed up, we're going to create like this temporary key. Even if it's messy in here, it doesn't matter, because the boots are going to be sculpted, the leg's going to be attached, then we're going to re-sculpt the whole hip area, do the skirt, and work our way up. So that's kind of like the whole process going all the way up that way. So let's get that mixed up. I'm going to utilize the old base too, just because it's easier to get this leg in here lined up with this foot, and make sure that I'm kind of lining her up correctly where it needs to be, and then that'll make life a lot easier for what I need to do. So let's get some of that mixed up now, and then we'll get this lined up in sort of a temporary key. Okay, so before I mix up this Magic Sculpt, for those who don't know, this is A and this is B. You mix them in equal amounts. You mix them really well with some water, and then you have about a 3-hour work time. And after in that 3 hours or so, it starts curing hard as a rock. And then after like 8 hours to the next day, this stuff is hard as a rock, just like resin. So Sculpt, I really don't sculpt with. I don't sculpt like outfits and stuff with it. But Sculpt I use for like this type of stuff where I need to add 2 pieces together. And what I do is I put in a rod and I use the Sculpt and I let it cure up. And therefore, that creates a really good, nice bond because I find that this stuff is really strong and durable. Aves can be done too as well because I use Aves and we'll get to that later on. But I find that Sculpt is just great for doing like, you know, armature stuff, which would be like in between here, creating skeletons and stuff like that. So I'll just get this mixed up and we'll start creating a key. Now I might use some baby powder too, because we don't want to put this leg onto here and have it stick and attach permanently. We want to have it sort of set up with baby powder so it's still removable, but everything lines up correctly. Alright, we got our Sculpt mixed up, and this part's fairly straightforward. Take some of your Sculpt. Now I'm not worried if I put too much into this area here and I start filling up that hole I drilled, because I can always take that drill hole down later. Most important thing is just getting everything lined up. So I'm just using some water. Just putting this here, and I just want to do a test run first just to make sure I'm putting enough Sculpt on it so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So then when you pop this off, you start creating at least a little bit of an area where that's going to go. Of course, if you want, you can kind of play with it and get it lined up, but it's kind of like this whole setup of what I want to do. So we still want to go around to some of the other areas. So I'm going to put some more over here. Doesn't matter if it's over. Especially back here too as well. This is going to get all chopped up later. Throw a little bit more here. I mean, if you don't want to waste any of this, you can sort of pop the center of it back out like that. And we'll just do another quick test, make sure we have enough there. I like where it's going. Yeah, okay. So if you start to see what happens is it starts getting stuck on this side, and that's kind of what we really don't. That's what we're going to go into and use like baby powder, but maybe I put too much over here, so we'll kind of take some of this down. Mostly we want it here, so I don't mind sticking a little extra there. Not the end of the world. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go in the garage. I like to just throw baby powder all over this area. Just kind of throw baby powder, throw it over the garbage can, because I don't want the baby powder going all over the studio. And then what we'll do is we'll get her lined up on this base correctly, like that. And what we're going to start doing is planning out getting this keyed and lining up correctly. So let me go get that done, and then we'll set up the camera. Alright, so we got this leg on there, and that's exactly where we need it. And now we have to get her lined up here, so you can see the baby powder just fell out. And we want to create the correct spot for her. And what I'm trying to do is I'm making sure the body is lining up correctly and even where the foot should be. Now the baby powder works as a, just so it doesn't stick. You could use water, but the problem with water is it creates like a suction. And that's kind of what you want to stay away from. Yeah, that's the thing you have to be careful of, because is the feet lining up correctly. So hopefully they are. So it's sort of creating a a little bit of a key. So I'm going to have to play with this a little bit, make sure that I'm getting lined up correctly. But this gives me at least a good starting point. So let's see if I can kind of get this going. Alright, so off camera, I sort of made sure everything was going correct. So you can kind of see we're creating that like temporary key. The Magic Sculpt is very, very soft right now. It's freshly mixed, so you can see it's just very pliable. And this is actually new Magic Sculpt I just ordered in the mail, and I got it like a week or two ago, so it's really, really soft and fresh. And it's going to take a little while for this to start hardening up. So what I'm going to do is over the next hour or two, I can kind of keep going back to this and making sure everything's up and lining up correctly. Because what I want to make sure is that when I put this piece in, it lines up to where I want it to be. Now see, I could sit here and I can tape this and I can kind of go that route if I want, which I probably will do, but not right now. It's still a little too soft. But I want to make sure that everything is lining up correctly. But this is going to make life a lot easier when I'm ready to do the boots. I think what I'm going to do is throw some more Magic Sculpt over here too to kind of get that lined up as well. So by the time we come back, hopefully this will be like hard as a rock and I'll have the key and everything set up. So this way we can start planning out the rest of the engineering. Okay, so it's been about a half hour since I mixed up that Magic Sculpt, and it's still very, very soft. But I wanted to double check and make sure that I'm lining up correctly because in the past, I've learned lessons the hard way where I'm like, yeah, you know, I'll just do it on my desk or I'll do it on another shelf or something and I'll line it up. And then when I actually put the thing on a level surface, I realize it completely messed up and it's not leveled or straight. So my airbrush table here is perfectly level. So this way I figured, let me put this on there with some masking tape. I'll put her head on it. I'll look in this direction. I'll look in this direction, and just making sure everything is lining up correctly and straight. And that's where we want it to be. So, you know, just the masking tape is going to help hold it. I'll leave the masking tape on for about another hour and a half to 2 hours. I mean, I could leave this masking tape on all night, actually, and then tomorrow I could kind of just pry it off and it should work fine. But just to be on the safe side, in case any Magic Sculpt kind of seeped into this leg here and it locks it into place and I kind of break everything, I'll just kind of toy with it in like another hour or so, and then I can always tape it again and go from there. But one of the cool things too about throwing the masking tape on where I did, we're getting a little bit of a visual effect of where the skirt might end up being too. So it's kind of cool. Like something like that is helping me visualize what I'm going to do later on, and that kind of gives us a little bit of a preview of how the skirt will look on her. So that's where we're at right now. I'll just let this cure up for about, you know, another 3 hours. Hopefully by tomorrow we'll have the key all ready to go and I can start really planning on more of the next couple steps. Okay, so it's been about 7 hours, 6-7 hours since I worked on this morning, and this comes off with no problem. There's no issues. It locks in very well. I mean, it doesn't like lock in, but it locks into the point where it's not shifting, and I can start working on the boots on these legs, and I don't have to worry about this being lined up incorrectly. You know, like down here, the feet are lined up very well. I still got a lot of sanding and prep work. All this little tedious stuff is still got to go on behind the scenes. It's really not that hard. Just putty, sand, putty, and sand. Next step is I want to start focusing on the head and arms. What I want to do is I want to put the arms on and I want to start shaping them up. And I want to make the head kind of removable for now. I have a funny feeling though, once I sculpt the outfit on, I think I'm probably going to have to attach the head and then do some sculpt work in the back with the hair and then just try to get paint back there. It's going to be a little tricky, but I have a funny feeling that's probably going to be the best option for what I'm doing. But we'll see how that goes once I kind of get a couple more steps ahead of where I'm at now. But other than that, we're looking pretty good. Everything's lining up and making life easier. So the other thing too is probably what's going to happen by the time we come back. I'll probably have a bunch of blue pencil marks on it. Now, this is blue pencil lead. You get it at any type of hobby store. I find that the blue lead makes things easier to see. So if we're going to start like working out the boots area, I'll start like drawing in blue pencil, like where the line work will go. And then when I'm ready to do like the skirt, you know, I'll probably go like, okay, so the skirt's going to come down like this, you know, somewhere like that. And the reason why I like the blue pencil is it goes on the gray primer with no problems, and it doesn't leave like a lot of crazy pencil dust. Like if you use regular black lead, that stuff kind of starts like really going off, and it kind of gets all dusty, and you kind of lose your mark. With the blue pencil, it works out very well where it goes on, and you can really thicken it up, and you can kind of like start planning out your stuff. So you're probably going to see a bunch of pencil marks throughout the whole project from now on, because what I like to do is, you know, am I going to have the shirt down here, or am I going to do like a little bit of an under boob? You know, maybe that's what I want to do, you know. People could let me know in the comments if you want to see like an under boob. Maybe you want to see more of an upper piece of the black shirt, you know. So I haven't really decided what I'm going to do there. You know, I want to have a nice stylized skirt. You know, is the skirt going to be short? Is it going to come up lower? Is it going to go lower? So I got to do some more pencil marks. I'll do some stuff with putty, and I'll kind of come up with some ideas. But you'll be seeing like a lot of these pencil marks now throughout the project. It just helps me visualize where everything's going to be going. So next step, like I said, when we come back and I'm ready to work on it, we're going to start working on the arms, the head, get this planned out. I'll keep fine-tuning, and then hopefully we'll get to the point where we're going to start sculpting the boots. Alright, so I've been working on her a little bit more and kind of coming up with some ideas. So the head connects like this. It goes inwards like that. It doesn't actually like connect this way. Now if this head was didn't have the arms coming in locking behind her hair, then I would say, okay, no problem, we can keep this removable, paint the body, paint the head, attach it at the end. But these arms actually lock into place, so you can kind of see, I think it's this one, goes here. You know, this one's keyed into there, and then that one is keyed there. And the same thing with this, that was keyed there, but this key broke off. So that's how it's like that. So I'm not really sure how the factory did it. I think what they did is they painted up all the pieces, and then they attached the head at the end. And then what they did is they probably put some glue there, and they put some glue here, and they glued in the arms to lock it into place. Now, that poses a problem for me because I can't really design it in a way where that happens. So basically, I would have to cut off the arm here, rebuild this arm here, cut off the arm there, and like build the outfit and everything, and then attach the head. So I decided this morning that I'm just going to build the head onto the statue with the arms and everything, and then paint it off. And when I say that, it'll make life a lot easier, because if this was going to be a mass-produced item, I would say yes, you take the time, you make all the pieces cuttable, and then the factory can cast up the head, cast up the arms, cast up the body, and paint everything together. This is a one-of-a-kind statue. It's easier to me to attach it all, make it look nice, and then just take my time masking at the end. Now when I say I'm going to attach it, because I'm thinking I got to do the whole collar area around here with the hair, so I figure it's better to sculpt all the collar stuff, attach the head, then work out the hair. Now the biggest problem would be painting underneath here, because you have this huge gap. What I'll do is, I did one custom back in the day when I worked on one of these, I'll just fill in a lot of Aves in here with hair. It's not the end of the world that the hair is kind of touching the back. I know, you know, maybe it should be hanging down, but it's not the end of the world. It's not going to make the statue any worse than what it is, and it'll just make life easier to paint it. So what will happen was, I'll put a lot of Magic Sculpt or Aves coming down to right about there and come around. So this way I only have to worry about painting here and then painting the hair, and not have to worry about getting all underneath there. So that'll make life easier on that front. So that's kind of like where I'm at right now. So because of that, and because I decided that, the way this whole project is going to work is we're going to work from the bottom up. So what I've been doing lately is sanding this down, and I've kind of been working out a lot of the ideas of the boots, of like what I'm going to do and how I'm going to engineer it. And it also gives me a better visual of the outfit. So by putting the leg on, I go, okay, so the boots are going to like line up here. This is where the skirt is going to end here. This is where the top of the skirt's going to end. We're going to do a little bit of that point look to it. The skirt's going to come around there. Same thing about here. And then I'm also kind of like, okay, do I put a zipper on this? Do I do the boots kind of like in this style? I'm looking online, a lot of like thigh-high boot styles. I'm going to add some wrinkles to it. And maybe I might add some other stuff as well here and there. I might have some fun with it, stylize it a little bit more. We'll see how that works. I'm trying to come up with some ideas while I'm doing that. But for right now, I'm still thinking about all that engineering and stuff. So what I might do is definitely attach the arms now. Because if I attach the arms and I cut out these keys, like if I cut out this key and this key, I can have the arm attached like so, and I can really clean up the arm when I get to the point. So as you can see, that key was actually broken, and I can still put the arm on with this key missing. Like if this is attached and this key piece is not here, I can still make this head removable. So I'm definitely going to probably attach the arms next. I'm probably going to get them on, attach them, and I'm just going to grind out these keys, and then I can always, when I'm ready to build up here, I can always do some security to it, and I'll show you that down the line. That's the way down the line. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. So we're going to build from the bottom upwards, and then I think that'll be it. I also did pry off this hair piece here because I figured it'd just be easier to pry it off, and then I can just attach it at the end, and then also tweak out those hair pieces as well. So it's just kind of planning and going from there. So next step, attach the arms, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to really fine tune this where I want the boot line to be, and I'm going to do the thing where I Dremel out the boot, like the top of the boot. So I'm going to like Dremel out a line here, so I'm going to create that little like, you know, the boot comes up and then the skin sort of kind of comes inwards to the boot a little bit, like it's kind of really tight on her thigh. I think that'll be kind of cool to do that around there. So I'll get all that worked out and then we'll come back. Alright, so I wanted to do some work on her today, and I realized if I put the arms on, they're going to be kind of bent like this, and whenever I'm turning her around, I might snap the arms off, I might grab like maybe my shirt or my jeans if I'm kind of doing sculpting. So I figured, let's just do the boots first. I'll attach the legs, clean up the waist, and then I'll attach the arms and go from there. It'll just be easier for just like being able to maneuver her. So we'll kind of get to that later down the line. So I did is I went in the garage and I Dremeled out a line going around here around the legs. The idea now is I'm going to roll out some Aves on wax paper, and then I'm going to use baby powder, so this way I can kind of roll out just like with a rolling pin, baby powder, so it doesn't stick to your wax paper. I could cut strips, and I could wrap the strips around here, and I could start working out the boots and kind of come up with an idea. And then after I kind of figure out what I'm going to do up here, I can actually sculpt the skin, so this way the boots seem like they're tight and they're pushing the skin up around a little bit. So it's going to be very subtle, but it's easier to kind of just have this now. So that's all I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go into the garage. I'll roll this out on wax paper because I don't like getting all that baby powder dust in the studio. So it's better to do it in the garage, and then I can kind of cut my strips and go from there. So we'll bring the camera in there. I'll show you how I roll it out, cut my strips. We'll come back, we'll add it there. So I do have my safety solvent, because what I do is once you get that baby powder on here, it's never going to stick unless you get that baby powder wet or off the item. So the safety solvent works out great to get that off. So I'm just going to wrap strips around here and kind of work out a good line. And then what I could do is tomorrow I could kind of sand it down and fine tune it. Then I can start figuring out what I'm going to do with the boots, and I could kind of really work out these boots a little bit, work out about the trim up here, figure out what I'm going to do there, and then work out that skin and everything, kind of like pushing it up like it's tight. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's just a little bit of trial and error, just kind of like figuring out as I go. Alright, sort of an update of what's going on. So you can see there's going to be a seam in the front of the boot. So what I'm doing is I want this to be like tight latex. So I'm doing like wrinkles around here is kind of where you would see those. A little bit of the wrinkles back here around the heel. And I'm just kind of like working this out as I go. This is going to have to be kind of sanded down. So once this kind of cures up a little bit more, and it's really, really tough, I can actually go in there and do a deeper line in here. And then this way when I sand it down, I don't sand away the line. If I do it right now, it's still too soft, so when I put this metal piece in here and I pull it out, I pull up the Aves with it. So I just need it to like kind of cure up in the next like hour or so, and then I can really get in there and work it. The idea is I want to put a zipper in the back of her. So the idea is the zipper is going to be back here, and I'm going to go down to like above the wrinkle areas here. I don't know, I was kind of like toying around with different designs. I looked online for some really crazy boot designs, and the problem is they look really great, but I think if I tried to sculpt it onto this, these legs and stuff, it would look very, very weird, only because the way these are sculpted. Like when you have like raw, sculpt, you could kind of chisel away a little bit and work it better, but I think this, since it's kind of resin, some of the things I was thinking of doing wouldn't work out too well. But we'll see how I do on the back of the boot. But for right now, I really like the way that's looking. It's got kind of like a good design to it. But I just kind of working out the boots as I go. Whenever I do something, I'm always making sure I put it together, make sure things are not hitting or getting scrunched. But so I think that right there is kind of showing you like what I'm going for. So the wrinkles are kind of more in the front here. So you figure it's nice and tight up around the leg. It's got the wrinkles around there, and it's tight around the calf muscle, and then we got wrinkles around there. When I start working on this one, it's going to be a little bit different. Well, definitely, I got the wrinkles going back here already, as you can kind of see. But more of the wrinkles are going to be coming back in here around when I do the zipper area here. This is going to be kind of tight area with a little bit of wrinkle here and a little bit of wrinkle there, and it's going to be tight here. So what I'll probably do with this one is, if I got enough A's mixed up, I could kind of just work out the seam. And I could just work out the nice tight seam going here, and that's all I really need to focus on. And then I could work out the wrinkles when I do the back part there. So I think I got enough A's mixed up where I could kind of just work this out. And then hopefully the A's will cure up a little bit more, get a little tougher, and then I can really make sure that the line is deep enough. That's why I dremelled in the line here. Trying to sculpt a very, very thin layer on top of, this type of, polystone resin. Like when you do it with the Aves and it's too thin, you really lose that line if you have to do any kind of sanding or cleaning up. I'd rather chisel out a line in here and work it in deep, and then if I fill it with the filler primer and stuff, it'll fill in that area, but I'll still have that line, and it'll work out pretty well. If the line becomes way too thick, I can always mix up some really thin Aves or some of my Tamiya Putty. I could throw it in there, and I could run like my fingernail in there and kind of work it out so it's not going too deep in there. But that's just kind of a tip for you guys if you ever work with polystone and you want to make line work. It's really difficult to chisel into the polystone, but it's easier to chisel the polystone out, throw in the Aves, and then work your line. So I'm going to work out this line real quick here. And then hopefully I can get into the garage the next day or two and really kind of stand these up, and then start focusing on the zipper in the back of them. Okay guys, so I'm going to have to close out this video early. I didn't want to. I really wanted to finish this up, but sadly it's going to be a little bit longer and a delay on it than I hoped. And that's because of the whole outbreak. So kind of explain what happened. As I was working on this item and I really started chopping it up and designing the legs, about 5 weeks ago I placed an order on eBay for 3 different auctions of doll zippers, because I really wanted to put a zipper down the back of the leg. I didn't mind if I didn't have like the little, the zipper piece here hanging off the side. I just figured if I could have sort of like that texture of a zipper, it would look kind of cool in the back. But sadly, because of the whole outbreak, 2 of my auctions got delayed, and I don't know if they're ever going to come in now. I did get this auction in, which is like a package of 20 zippers for, I think it was $6 shipped, which is a great deal, but they're a little bit too big. They're too big, and I didn't expect them to be this big. So I was hoping the other 2 that I won would be smaller, but I'm not really sure unless they came in. So I might have to kind of like come up with a different idea with these zippers though, and I'll kind of explain what I'm going to do. But you can see I'm kind of like designing like maybe some kind of a cool like design on her boots. Something a little bit different. Like maybe, you know, I might add either line work, or I might add like different stuff where I kind of paint it different, where it's like kind of some of it's latex and some of it's kind of like a spandex. I don't know, I'm going to kind of come up with some more ideas now that this is kind of delayed. But now because this zipper is so big, it's not going to work here. So basically the idea is you cut off the cloth and you have that big of a zipper, but it's so big though, it's not really, I think it's a little too big for her. So the idea is this: if this is the zipper, like I said, I'm gonna wait another week or two, and if these auctions don't come in completely, if they're just gonna be delayed indefinitely, I'll utilize these and we'll come up with like a plan on how to do it. So if this is the zipper, like say this is your zipper coming down, and then you got your zippers like this, and say it's like this wide. Basically, I only need the center of the zipper. I only need that little bit of that center piece. So what I can do is I could Dremel out this leg, and then what I could do is I could put this big zipper in there like so. And I could just let that sit. And then once that's set up, what I could do is I could roll out a thin thing of Aves, and then what I could do is I could close the zipper up a little bit. So this way, I still have that little tiny zipper feel in the center of it, and it's not as wide. So that's what I think I might have to do. I'm not really sure yet, we'll see. But I think this is where we're going to have to close out the video. So I'm going to put her aside. We're going to see how this outbreak and everything kind of handles. If everything gets back on track in another week or two, I could get back onto her. If not, we're going to have to kind of come up with an idea and utilize these like I said. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So thanks for watching, and hopefully in the next video we're really going to flush out the legs and get everything done.